The Hyundai logo that we know today has not always been the same. It has changed over time and become something more universal in the eyes of people who like to drive. Sometime in 2008, Hyundai introduced the Genesis car, which had a different logo from the conventional H that Hyundai was known for. We'll go over the meaning and history of these Hyundai logos and how they have evolved over time in this video. Hyundai, or the Hyundai Motor Company, is South Korea's largest automobile manufacturer. As the world's seventh largest automaker, Hyundai debuted in South Korea on December 29, 1967. The International Automobile Corporation grew quickly to become one of the biggest car companies in the world. It makes a wide range of commercial vehicles, luxury cars, engines, and even electric vehicles. Hyundai is also in charge of the Ioniq, Genesis, and Kia brands. Today's Hyundai logo is a simple and appealing design. An oval border surrounds a stylized, slanted H. When the Hyundai symbol is used in marketing materials, the word Hyundai is often written below it in a sharp sans serif font. The Hyundai logo is as simple as it gets for many people. Like the Honda insignia, most people believe that H in the Hyundai symbol represents the H in the company's name. While this is mostly correct, the Hyundai logo's meaning goes a little deeper, expressing acceptance, community, and teamwork. But let's first take a look at the evolution and history of the Hyundai logo. Though you may remember a specific Hyundai logo better than others, the Hyundai logo design has evolved a few times throughout the years. For the first time, the old Hyundai logo appeared in 1969. In this intriguing design, an angular oval shape, akin to a vehicle window, was superimposed on a circle. Over the bottom line of the strange oval form, the letters H and D appeared in a stylized typeface. This was an interesting vehicle emblem in the 1960s, with a lot of geometric elements working together in the minimalist colors of black and white. The H in the emblem also had a line going up to the top right corner, which might have been a road. The business somewhat altered its logo in 1970, altering the positioning of the inner section of the Hyundai symbol to fit completely within an oval border. This Hyundai automobile logo appeared to be closer to the vehicle badges of the period, but it was still far from what most car enthusiasts were used to. The Hyundai logo changed completely in 1978, moving away from geometric patterns and focusing on a wordmark. Due to the company's location, the name Hyundai was written in Korean at this point. The new logo was smoother than prior designs, with simple, blocky typography. The letters HD remained in this sign, to the left of the monogram. The clean lines seemed to show how professional and reliable the company was, while the deep blue and white colors showed that they could be trusted. The Hyundai emblem as we know it today initially appeared in 1990. The graphic identity was altered completely, removing the HD, as well as the corporate name. This new logo seems to have a slightly slanted H in the same oval shape as the company's old logo from the 1970s. The image's hue remained white and dark blue. According to the corporation, the H was chosen not only to indicate the company's name but also to convey meaning. The letter H is designed to resemble two individuals shaking hands, a mark of respect. The sleek new Hyundai logo design was slightly changed again in 2003, this time using a different shade of blue. In addition, the business put the name Hyundai beneath the insignia in English. Both the wordmark and the symbol were the same shade of blue. Hyundai used a sans serif font with a modern twist for the logotype. This is the same font used in the Hyundai emblem today. The version of the Hyundai logo that most people are familiar with was introduced in 2017. The corporation chose a slightly different shade of blue for its wordmark this time, and the H symbol was upgraded to silver. The elements of the Hyundai logo are now much sharper and more modern. Shading has been added to the sign to make it look like it has a lot of depth. Today's Hyundai logo retains the previous design's visual appeal while adding a touch of sleek refinement. However, the emblem seems more like something you'd see on the back of a Hyundai automobile this time. The lines have not been changed, and the logotype retains its characteristic, angular appearance. On the other hand, the colors of the Hyundai logo have always been simple. The logo started out as a simple white and black design, but as time went on, it became more and more blue. The latest version of the Hyundai logo has a dark blue wordmark and a silver Hyundai symbol with many different shapes. Despite the fact that the sign is silver, most people would claim the main Hyundai logo color is blue because it has been associated with the corporation for a longer time. The colors silver and blue emphasize modernism, sophistication, and dependability. Hyundai's logo typeface, like many of the most popular logos of all time, isn't one you'll find in a font library. The Hyundai font was created exclusively for the brand. At first glance, it looks like a very simple and sharp sans serif, which could be a reference to some of the geometric shapes in the old Hyundai logo. However, besides the general Hyundai logo, there is also the Hyundai Genesis logo, which represents the luxury vehicle manufacturing division of the Hyundai Motor Group. Many people were astonished when the Hyundai Genesis sedan debuted in 2008 without the familiar H badge. Instead, the distinctive emblem aided in the establishment of Genesis Motors as the luxury subsidiary of the Hyundai Motor Group. What exactly is the Hyundai Genesis logo, and what does it represent? Prior to the introduction of the famous winged Genesis logo, Genesis automobiles sold in the United States bore the H, featured on other Hyundai vehicles. In the meantime, Genesis vehicles sold in other nations used the winged logo. When purchasing a new Genesis in the United States, buyers were given the option of the familiar H logo or the winged logo. As it turns out, roughly 20% preferred the winged design over the H. In 2008, speculation began to circulate throughout the automotive industry regarding Hyundai's plans to establish Genesis as a separate label. The introduction of the brand new Genesis automobile logo fueled the conjecture. In November 2015, it was confirmed. One of the most convincing reasons for Hyundai to make Genesis a premium brand was that Genesis cars were bestsellers and heavyweights in their niches. Like I earlier mentioned, the logo has a deeper meaning. The two wings of the Hyundai Genesis logo are clearly identifiable. A black hexagonal shield with the word Genesis is placed between the wings. The use of wings in the logo design indicates speed. Others, on the other hand, have pointed out that the wings cement Genesis as a premium brand that competes with other brands with comparable emblems, such as Aston Martin, Chrysler, and Bentley. This winged logo can now be found on the completely new Genesis vehicle lineup, including the following: G70 Genesis, G80 Genesis, G90 Genesis. But as important as the logo of Hyundai Motors is, so is the brand itself. To grasp the full picture of why these changes were made to the logo, let's take a look at the history of the Hyundai brand. Hyundai has been at the forefront of modern automotive design and manufacturing for decades. The word Hyundai is aptly derived from the Korean word Hunja, which means modernity. The corporation has a long history of technological innovation. However, it has not evolved solely for the sake of evolution. Rather, the company has always had one purpose in mind: to manufacture cars of unrivaled excellence. Hyundai is now more committed than ever to providing the best driving experience possible. We all know that Hyundai Motor Company formally launched its brand in 1967, but the automaker's roots may be traced back to the post-war world of South Korea. It all began in 1947, when an entrepreneur named Chung Ju-young established the Hyundai Engineering and Construction Company. The goal was simple: to help South Korea recover from the damage of World War II and become more industrialized. Unfortunately, both his expectations and his business plan were crushed by the Korean War. Following so closely on the heels of the previous big battle, Chung Ju-young was obliged to leave the company and seek employment with the Korean Ministry of Transportation. Although it would be more than a decade before the foundation of the Hyundai Motor Company in the late 1960s, the seeds of Ju-young's idea were planted at the nation's transportation agency. Hyundai Motor Business formally began operations in 1968 with the debut of its first model, the Cortina, for which the company worked with Ford Motor Company. The car's release was the first step in what would be a long and fruitful journey. The car, which was made at the Ulsan plant in the south of the country, was successful enough to give Chung Ju-young hope for his project. Indeed, it was after the release of the Cortina that he resolved to redouble his efforts to build a strong and independent automotive company. Chung Ju-young hired a number of British auto executives and engineers to help him reach his goal of making high-quality, mass-produced cars for South Koreans. George Turnbull, who had been the managing director of Austin Morris, was the first person he hired. They worked together to make the Pony, which was South Korea's first mass-produced car when it came out in 1976. The Pony was not a one-hit wonder. The car was made in Korea, but it was designed with help from British engineers and styled by Giorgio Giugiaro from Italy. It was powered by a 1.2-litre Mitsubishi engine. It was just a matter of time before Hyundai started selling its prized innovation on the international market. Exporting started in Ecuador and quickly spread to South America, Europe, and North America, among other places. In fact, by the middle of the decade, the Pony had become Canada's best-selling vehicle. While Hyundai had yet to break into the US market, it was gaining a stellar reputation in many other countries. Of course, expansion created new challenges, not the least of which was quality control. While selling cars in the new South Korean market was reasonably easy, pleasing foreign car buyers was a bit more difficult. The leaders of Hyundai realized right away that they needed to focus on both quality and growth. This is how the company's long-term strategy of quality growth was created. Throughout the 1980s, Hyundai expanded at a rapid pace, making significant inroads into overseas markets. However, it wasn't until 1986 that the corporation achieved one of its most important objectives, entering the US market. At first, this was hard to do because of strict emissions rules, but Hyundai quickly rose to the challenge and passed with flying colors. It did so with the XL model, a redesigned Pony with front-wheel drive and low emissions. South Korea's first American product was available in two configurations, a 4-door sedan and a 5-door hatchback trim, both with a 4-cylinder engine. In the end, Hyundai's small car proved to be a formidable competitor on the world scene. The Pony XL, which was designed again by Giorgio Giugiaro, was made only for markets outside of Italy. It was the best-selling imported car in 1986, and Forbes put it on its list of the best products because it was a cheaper alternative to many domestic cars. The XL model was so popular that Hyundai kept producing it until 1994, when the sleeker accent appeared. Despite a promising start, Hyundai was not completely satisfied. It intended to push the edge once more in its continual drive to improve quality and raise standards, still led by founder Chung Ju-young. Over the next few years, the company would make a lot of progress in design and technology. By the beginning of the 21st century, Hyundai had become one of the world's top automakers. With the history out of the way, let's talk about the brand. While much has changed in recent years, much has remained the same. Hyundai's primary plant is still in Ulsan, where it created its first car, but it is now the world's single largest integrated car manufacturing hub, a monument to the company's development from its humble origins as South Korea's first mass automobile manufacturer with a 1.6 million unit annual production capacity. But nowadays, it's not just about quantity. Today, the company is more committed than ever to bringing premium value into clients' everyday lives, as CMO, EVP Won Hong-cho puts it. From the Santa Fe to the Sonata, all of which are still sold at Hyundai dealerships across the country, the company has made a whole new generation of cars with great design and high-tech features. Sonata, for example, is renowned not just for being the manufacturer's flagship mid-sized sedan, but also for pioneering the brand's new fluidic sculptural design concept. Hyundai's design philosophy, which focuses on natural shapes and flowing lines, has put the company at the forefront of car design. Hyundai has grown so much over the years that it is no longer a cheap foreign option like it used to be. In the last few decades, it has continued to make not only great cars for everyday use, but also specialty and high-end cars. The company has consistently ranked in the top tier of the World Rally Championships, demonstrating its devotion to great engineering and cutting-edge technology. Today, Hyundai is exceeding expectations once more, improving its quality, cultivating customer relationships, and entering the luxury market with an entirely new brand called Genesis. But one of the most frequently asked questions about this brand over the years has always been: how did Hyundai become successful? Although Hyundai has had a fantastic journey thus far, it appears that the best is yet to come. The public should expect even more surprises as the company expands into new areas, expands its vehicle line, and once again pushes the envelope of quality and inventiveness. The future looks brighter than ever for new and loyal Hyundai customers. But then, how did Hyundai achieve success over the years? Here are some lessons to learn from Hyundai's success story. Lesson number 1: the Chinese market. Since 2002, when Hyundai partnered with Beijing-based BAIC Motors to begin production in China, the company's expansion has been unstoppable. They have successfully expanded into every global market worth expanding into. This kind of success is uncommon among organizations that rapidly globalize. China had already opened its borders and emancipated its market at the time of the formation of the Beijing Hyundai Motor Company on the condition that businesses from outside create alliances with Chinese enterprises. As a result, they all, Ford, VW, GM, etc., followed Hyundai's lead. They were all eager to enter the vast and lucrative Chinese market. The Chinese market had a cheap labor force, cheap factories, and fewer laws, so getting started was quick and cheap. At the same time, China was already booming at an alarming rate, and demand for more expensive, luxurious vehicles was increasing. Lesson number 2: Global expansion. Hyundai began expanding after a successful entry into the Chinese market. They strengthened their position in Europe by investing in new production facilities in Turkey, and they began selling cars in the United States and even India, where they have had remarkable success. This all appears to be so simple that anyone could do it, but believe me, it is not. Especially in the automobile sector, where brand image is critical and the market is saturated. Lesson number 3: Changing the image of a brand. When they first entered other markets, including China, they quickly learned they were seen as a lower-quality South Korean brand. They realized something had to change. First and foremost, it was false. Their autos were already of high quality, but many Korean things were not. They began to place a greater emphasis on quality and implemented the 10-to-10 policy. The 10-to-10 policy was a prominent automotive warranty that covered 10 years and 100,000 miles. The way people thought about their brand and its quality started to improve, which was a key step in their strategy. Another factor was their market adaptation and distinction. When they first entered the US market, they offered 2 vehicles in 2 of the most popular vehicle classes at the time. They offered the Sonata, a large sedan, and the Santa Fe, a mid-size SUV. Both were less expensive than the norm in their class, but came with a comprehensive guarantee as well as solid equipment and performance. People adored the Sonata and the Santa Fe because they provided the best value for money. Lesson number 4: Strategic management. This all appears to be quite simple, but few brands are implementing it. The secret to Hyundai's success is a thorough examination of what a particular market needs and at what cost. Maruti Suzuki was and continues to be their main competitor in the Indian market. Hyundai, on the other hand, only provided 2 little automobiles that were ideal for India's terrible and tight roads. One of the automobiles was low-priced, with a limited profit for Hyundai, but an appealing price at which people were willing to buy their first Hyundai in India rather than a Maruti. The second vehicle was the Hyundai Accent, which had a better profit margin for Hyundai but appeared less appealing to the Indian populace. Surprisingly, both models were well received by the public. As previously stated, when they entered the US market, their strategy was radically different. It was the same for the European market. They provided more compact vehicles for Europe's limited streets. They priced it about the same as small cars made by French companies, but they gave much longer warranties. Today, they still do the same motions, and here's how. They introduced their N-Performance range of sportier versions of their normal models in 2015. The i30N was their most popular model. If you study reviews and comparisons, you will notice that the i30N is a hybrid of all other hot hatchbacks, combining what people like about the VW Golf GTI and the Renault Megane RS. Once again, they did their homework and created a product that is a sure hit. The same is true for their electric vehicles. They sell 2 totally electric vehicles, the Prius-like Ioniq and the crossover SUV Kona. They had a lot of success with the Kona in Norway, which is Europe's electric car capital, with more than 50% of newly sold cars being electric. The electric Kona is a crossover SUV with a 300-mile range. When it was first released in Norway, it immediately received 7,000 orders, and over 13,000 were waiting for orders. With all of the orders coming in, their production capacities were completely overwhelmed. They knew they had to offer a good electric range while still making the crossover SUV, which was the most popular car design at the time. Their differentiation strategy will not change in the future. They intend to launch a slew of new vehicles, including the flagship SUV, the 2020 Hyundai Palisade. According to press sources, their study will focus on electric automobiles and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. In conclusion, The Hyundai logo is a great example of how a simple but effective vehicle design can take the globe by storm. The Hyundai logo is also a fantastic look at how a logo may have meaning beyond what most people would instantly recognize. Hyundai, or Hyundai Motor Company, is the name of a well-known Korean automaker that was founded in 1967, and has since grown to become one of the largest Asian vehicle manufacturers. Hyundai makes more than just cheap and expensive cars. It also makes engines and car parts that are used by many other brands around the world.